It is time to bring in Jim Lynch. Jim, of course, joins us every Tuesday morning. Jim is, a person that has experience from the stock market to sports, politics. He's got an independent voice and all that, and he joins us on a Tuesday morning. Welcome, Mr. Lynch, to the radio.
Well, it is a pleasure to be with you this morning. I hope you're all well. And beautiful day, beautiful weather.
Well, I need to know, did you follow Jill's advice and did you do your homework?
He wasn't following my advice.
I didn't do all of my homework. No, the dog did not. One of the dogs did not eat my homework. But
The other one did.
I'll get into the first part of my homework, which is why, kiddingly, when Marshall called me, I answered Joe's Pizzeria.
That's right.
But see, he doesn't know about this.
No, I don't.
No.
He's a clever fox. He knows about everything.
I'll tell you what the clever fox knows, and I was quite impressed. I told him about the pizza, and he's like,
Right.
"Well, that's a scam. That's a disaster." Now he's got a really good nose for that, and he spotted it yards off. He just didn't get the details, and so.
I see.
So he doesn't know about the pizza.
Always the showman.
Yeah.
Always the showman. Well, let's talk slices. Jill and I were chatting, and I said, let me go further. And I had already looked at this supposed new investment vehicle. And I have to do my research because now my appetite's been whetted, even though I think it's really a bad idea for an individual. By that, I mean I have to get a document and I have to talk to a representative of a fund, in this case, Fidelity. Fidelity Fund, I guess one of the largest and most successful, is actually, along with other funds separately and individually, are offering what they really call it slices of a specific share of stock. So if the stock is $20, they offer you a share, basically a portion of that, which translates, I guess, to about, 10% would be about $2. So let's just go with that, whether it's exactly right or wrong. So the investor puts up his $2, or let's say $5, so make it interesting. He puts his $5 up, and he gets a piece of the stock. Now, he's getting under a very tiny amount in this stock. So for him to make any decent money, this stock has got to go, by decent money, maybe $5, from 20 to 40, okay? Now, number one, the experts are all figuring out how to invest in things that double or triple or quadruple, be it in a short time or a long term. So the idea itself is faulty because you don't really have leverage in this. You just like, it's like sitting in sand and you can't get up. Now, I couldn't discover, and this is really key, how much they're charging to slice up shares for individuals. They say there's no cost. Well, there's always a cost. And for them, a large fund to get involved in a project like this means that they're making money. And if you're buying it at a given price, that doesn't mean that the price hasn't been marked up from where the market value is of the stock, and vice versa when you try and sell it.
Or do you think that the fund carries a load?
Pardon me? The fund
Or do you think that the fund that has let's call it the slice fund, let's call it the pizza fund, do you think that
Right.
Do you think that that it costs to that you're paying for that fund?
Very definitely.
I learned the hard way about buried costs most recently with Goldman Sachs and their wealth management.
Well, but here's just an outsider's, because I have no money and I invested in the stock market. But here's the way someone outside the stock market who has a reasonable mind, and I consider I have a fairly reasonable mind, should look at this. Let's say there's 1 million people that take advantage of this, and they each buy $5 worth of stock. They're never going to benefit from that $5. But of course, if 1 million people buy that stock at $5 million, and so all of a sudden now you're looking at $5 million, somebody's making money somewhere, and it's not going to be the investor.
Right, and that's the point. But what it does is it breaks it fragments the transactions, and I believe that you have to be able. You're being charged somewhere in the transaction, so you've got 20 people buying something that they're not really going to benefit from, because how on earth do you benefit?
Well, and Jim, you can never mind 20 million. I think it goes at whether it's 1 million or 2 million people buy it. They don't benefit. Somebody else benefits by making money, and the company, of course, raises money because they've raised $10 million if it's 2 million people. So it to me it seems like it should be illegal.
I am sure.
I mean,
okay.
It sounds like the mafia, if you want.
But it comes out of sports betting. There's a whole thing that's happened, because now instead of betting on the outcome, you're betting on like one slice, if you will, 1 second of the rate. There are This is how people got into terrible trouble with hedge fund with side bets before 2008.
Right.
It's just been marketed to individuals now. It's like, great, now the individual investor can get into a hole.
Well, the thing is this. They are making money, and it should be somewhere in the prospectus. I'll probably figure out how they make their money with a charge or something like that. As we know, mutual funds, you buy them at a net price. But when you own the fund, X amount of expenses are charged against by the fund against those investments that everybody owns. So they're always making money. That's the key. But let's get to a fundamental. If you only have $5 to invest, or if you have $100 to invest, or if you have $200 to invest, you don't go into the stock market in any fashion. You take it and go into a bank. And maybe you get 1%, whatever you get. You get something on it, and you can get the money back. So enough said on this. I will get back to you next week, and I'll probably cite from the prospectus and so forth. So because at first I was amused and I dismissed this, and now I'm a little challenged. Let me figure it out. But please stay away, at least until next week. And instead of spending $5 on one of these things, call Domino's. I think they deliver for free.
Well, the whole thing, Jim, this is just another thing that, when it gets publicly known, is going to make Americans once again upset and feel like they're being used by people that have more money. It really is.
Right now, the adverts are saying Fidelity's doing it, Schwab is doing it. It's like it's a vehicle, and it's being flawed.
I'm telling you, it produces more angst from the people that don't have a lot of money about the people that do make a lot of money on Wall Street.
Right. No, absolutely.
What you just said, Marshall, is the most important thing. The last thing we need at this time is to give people something else to worry about.
Yeah.
And the thing is this: they forget about it, and then it comes back, and oh, gee, where is this? Where is that? What's going on? I mean, it's ridiculous. But I wanted to also end this section on this note. The fund has a purpose in doing this. What I guess is they want to accumulate enough names and other idea of people to begin marketing other things to them.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Absolutely. If people want to invest $5 in the stock, do it in penny stocks, because you know what? More people maybe it's not a significant amount of money, but more people make more money buying in those penny stocks at $5 than they would in something like this.
You're absolutely correct.
Right.
Absolutely correct. All right, folks. So it's another bright day, and we had some major news from the Supreme Court, which in light of the terrible things going on in the country, which this racial problem is surfacing and in the ugliest of ways, The LGBT community has been assured by the Supreme Court that the 1964 Civil Rights Act guarantees them employment regardless of their sexual orientation. A tremendous win for a very large amount of our population. This includes transgen as well. And an amazing decision. It was 6-3. Two conservatives, Justice Roberts and Gerlish, joined. So it was a 6-3, a decisive victory. And some people have worked long and hard on getting this fairness into our system. So hats off to them. And as Americans, let's pause and say, God, at least something's working.
Well,
at least there is some fairness.
And I think, so it's Gorsuch's ruling, which is kind of interesting because he would not be the one who was expected. It's a landmark ruling. And it goes in, I think there are something like 21 states that have this, but now it's federal.
Right.
So it's
Right.
it just shows that with a little bit of patience, and I'm not minimizing anything, but if you work it, and you keep pushing, there is always the possibility that you get something out of it.
Well, the thing, Jim, that it shows to me is that at least on this occasion, a couple of conservatives saw exactly the broad scope of what they were voting on, and it wasn't that's the problem with most things in politics today, and unfortunately politics now also rules into the Supreme Court
by the slice.
Is people look at things in a rather short matter. But one thing about the Supreme Court, and it should always bear this way, is it's no small look. What they look into and what they write their decisions on is a lot of discovering, and it goes to uphold this very, very important law, and it puts an end to any worry that those LGBTQ people have about the future. That's the truly terrific thing about it.
Exactly, and we really need a dose of security throughout the nation in light of what's going on. I don't need to enumerate what's going on, but it's a blessing. The other thing from the Supreme Court, very, very important in terms of states' rights, they've said that the government has no business interfering in California's having a sanctuary city. And that's a states' right issue, and they've upheld the state of California because the state has a right to do what it needs to do to ensure civility and security and safety and so forth for its citizens or anybody who comes into the city. So that was, we shouldn't miss that, not as significant, obviously, as the first one, but two very significant decisions on the part of us citizens. And I applaud the court, and I'd say that I know there's a lot of politics going on generally in the country, but sometimes I think what has happened, and I'm not saying it's happened here, people sometimes they sit down in a dark room and they say, what the hell is going on?
Well,
and they step up.
And that wasn't the only thing. If you look really at what the Supreme Court, what they did not do, is as important as what they did do. They did not hear a case regarding that. What you're saying, the sanctuary cities, okay,
right?
Which is so important in so many other cases that are going to come before it. It shows a little hope, even though there's a serious conservative slant to the Supreme Court. Justice Roberts, who I have not always agreed with his decisions, but he does show a tendency to look at things in the broad scope and not just the conservative scope. And maybe this latest edition will be a conservative that's also like that. So we won't get the horrendous change of laws that we feared in this government.
From your lips to God's ears. So It's a very good day, and let's. I hope, as a country and as a government, we run with the wind and create more wins. Now, the president has outlined that he's going to bring a $1 trillion infrastructure fund, which we should have done at the beginning of his term rather than locking up immigrants from Mexico. But all be that, the deal is this should help long-term our economy if the funds are dedicated properly to the right sources, the right businesses, the right projects. But if it's going to be one of these, I'm going to give the money to my friends and I'm not going to tell you, like Mnuchin is trying to say on previous corporate bailouts, then it'll be a waste of time and money. The point is now, folks, with the Trump and his enablers continuing to steal money, not telling us who they're giving all this money to, it's time for you to focus on November very strongly in terms of these folks who are in the U.S. government. Trump and his enablers are crooks. They are stealing your money. We are in desperate straits economically and health-wise. We need every dollar we can muster to take care of this country, and that's the people. The people make the country run, and the people who have a lot of money might think they're king for the day, but when everybody starts dying and not working, they will have to leave the country because they won't be able to make it here. So please, you have to pay attention right now to what's going on, and I would start with the current president's health, which people are laughing at, but it's frankly no laughing matter. This man is in physical, mental problems.
Well, here's what I
you
don't
can see it.
Here's what I don't understand about the president's. And I'm no big supporter. Anybody will tell you I was no big supporter of Hillary Clinton. I voted for her under duress. But when Hillary Clinton was not feeling well and had a couple of stumbles and falls, it made the most incredible news and most vicious attacks that I've ever seen. And even though Donald Trump gets a lot of vicious attacks,
right?
His inability to walk down a ramp indicates something that is wrong. Let me put it this way. I have that same inability because of my knees to walk down a ramp securely. I really have to hold on to a ramp. But when this happened to Hillary Clinton, it was all over the place. It was in newspapers, it was in magazines, it was on the radio, it was on TV. And on Donald Trump, yeah, it's a little bit on Facebook, but it hasn't been. And that shows the disparity once again between male politicians and female politicians.
Or, since Donald Trump, for better or for worse, you can't have a conversation with someone without it becoming a Trump rant, basically. Maybe that's covered because with Hillary, you didn't have didn't have the Hillary.
There were Hillary rants.
Yeah,
come
but
on.
not every day.
But yes, every
second?
day. Oh gosh, yes. Come on. When Hillary Clinton ran for president, come
But
on.
guess what? She ran.
Well, he's president, and if she were president,
If she were president, we'd have a not dissimilar situation.
You can say what you want about Donald Trump being insulted and people ranting every day. The predecessor to that was Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton underwent more abusive treatment, I think, than well earned, I might say, but went through more abusive treatment than anybody I've ever seen.
And
in
you
my
think
life.
that was because she was female?
I think it's because she was female and because she was a powerful female, and she made the same mistakes and goofs as a powerful male. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Her husband didn't get as much flack back as she did, and look what. So I'm sorry. I mean, who is your Biden VP pick? I'm serious. I don't have one.
Oh, Lynch.
Well, let me just step in and say, Marshall, that's a brilliant analogy, particularly when you bring up Bill Clinton, who, on a basis of hours and time and newspaper articles, didn't nearly get as salacious as what he did. He didn't nearly get what she got. I mean, she got it, Then she had hours, 12 hours on the Benghazi thing. And God, I don't think the impeachment in the Senate lasted 12 hours, did it?
Oh, no. And
So
then,
you're absolutely.
and then there were the stories about she's running some sort of a kid abuser thing through a pizza. I mean, they were just endless every day.
Yes, and we have to, and again, the endless every day with the, there's so much misinformation on the misinformation superhighway that gets spread around that, either you tune out or you pay attention and the stories get wilder and wilder, but there's no middle.
Well, we have a minute left, Jim, so we'll expect you to get wilder and wilder in the next minute.
Yes, please. Stand back.
Wait a minute. I need at least 3 to 5 minutes to wind up.
You need a runway.
Bring in that wrench. Anyhow, let me just finish this way. I believe a lot of women are stepping to the fore, recognizing that conceivably they made a mistake in voting for Trump, particularly if they voted for him because they didn't like Hillary Clinton. And, this is a tricky thing to say, but unfortunately, we become conditioned by things around us. And I think over the years, many women have been conditioned by the males or the big hitters and so forth. That has unraveled decisively, not just this year, but it's been unraveling before our eyes as more women become CEOs. Not nearly enough. And more women in the Congress. Not nearly enough. But there is a trend here, folks. So I'm ending on the trend of certainly a woman VP and certainly a greater amount of attention paid to the rights of women in all areas, building on what's been happening in the Supreme Court.
All right.
I rest my case.
It is rested, and we will speak to you in this. We'll be in the chambers.
I know. You're exhausted. I know you're exhausted.
We'll be
Rest.
We'll be in the chambers with the judge once again next week at this time. Okay, Jim.
Right. Well, I'm dusting off my robes.
Okay.
See you later. Have a great week.
Take
Great
care,
week.
Jim.
Bye-bye.
Jim Lynch and Cover Your Assets this morning here on Robin Hood Radio.